You're watching SABC News Prime Time. South Africa says it plans to approach the political body of the International Criminal Court to get clarity on the interpretation of the Rome Statute Article 98.
The article compels signatories to the statute to execute arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court. South Africa's International Relations and Cooperation Minister made the announcement at the Pan-African Parliament Summit in Johannesburg earlier today.
South Africa's International Relations and Cooperation Minister Mashabane arriving to address the opening session of the Pan-African Parliament's Fourth Assembly. The summit comes amid a storm regarding South Africa's failure to execute an international warrant of arrest for Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. Al-Bashir attended the African Union Summit in Johannesburg earlier this year, and a furore erupted after South African officials refused to execute a warrant of arrest issued by the ICC. Instead, al-Bashir was allowed to leave the country. The issue again reared its head at last week's meeting of African ambassadors on the eve of the PAP summit. Then ambassadors lobbied for the PAP to decline a request by the ICC to be included in the summit's official program. Members of the diplomatic corps, led by Sudan's ambassador, voted not to allow the ICC to address the Pan-African Parliament's Fourth Parliament. Sudan reiterated its position of non-cooperation with the ICC at the United Nations Head of State Summit in New York last week. It's against this backdrop that South Africa's Minister of International Relations and Cooperation addressed the opening of the PAP's gathering. Mashabane says that South Africa is still in the process of seeking clarification on its responsibilities as a signatory of the Rome Statute.
South Africa will therefore approach the Secretariat of the Assembly of State Parties, popularly known as the ASP, to Rome Statutes, the political body of the ICC, that is the ASP, to ensure that discussions take place during the ASP meeting to be held in The Hague from the 18th to the 26th November 2015 on the rules and procedures that must be developed to ensure clarity on the Article 97 consultation process and on interpretation of Article number 98, dealing with the complex issues around the immunities of serving heads of state and government.
Despite all the controversy generated by South Africa's handling of the ICC al-Bashir arrest warrant saga, Minister Mashabane added that South Africa is committed to the International Court.
The government remains committed to international criminal justice and to cooperate with the court in the pursuit thereof, as was envisaged in the Rome Statutes. It is of the view that this discussion will serve to enhance the proper execution of the international criminal justice.
Meanwhile, the minister also used her address to the Pan-African Parliament to shine the spotlight on armed conflicts and political crises raging across the continent. In her address, Mashabane also called for broader participation of women in the political processes in African countries, as the Pan-African Parliament also seeks to push for member states to ratify the controversial protocol which would give the organ legislative powers. South Africa's International Relations Minister urged parliamentarians to debate and consider how those powers would assist to help end and find lasting solutions to conflicts in Burundi, the Central African Republic, as well as preventing hostile military takeovers as recently seen in Burkina Faso. Dumalo Mohlaudi, SABC News, Midrand.